Hey guys, I hope you're having a great evening. It is winding up to be a beautiful night here on the river. Just kind of sitting down here chilling out, enjoying the day. Been doing a lot of editing earlier today. I'm trying to get ready to go out on the road. So I'm trying to get a couple daily dig logs lined up in a row here. And we're winding down, coming up on my 30-day mark that I committed to do these daily dig logs. There was quite a few things I wanted to talk about before I ran out of time. And I'm probably going to keep doing videos, maybe daily even, but I think I'm going to have to change the format a little bit to keep it sustainable. But one of the things I've been wanting to get to is talking about my passion for Civil War relics. And if any of you guys have watched any of my videos, you know that I am primarily hunting for Civil War relics when I'm out roaming around. And that passion stemmed from finding my very first Civil War relic. So I thought I'd tell you about that relic today. Now, if you've watched my previous daily dig logs, you saw the very first one. I talked about finding a button and calling my dad and how it drew us back together. And I continued to hunt as sort of a beginner would. I was looking in playgrounds and schools and churches, basically everywhere you would not want to look for relics. And my dad called me one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to hunt for some Civil War stuff in Perryville. Do you want to come meet me?" And of course, immediately visions of mini balls popped into my head. And I said, of course, you know. And so we made plans to meet the next day. And I tried to go to sleep that night. And I tossed and turned thinking about finding a mini ball. The next morning came, I loaded up the truck with my Nautilus DMC-1 and drove out to Kentucky, met my dad, and first thing he noticed was that the grass was pretty high where we were going to hunt. And he said that was no problem for him. He had his Nautilus DMC-2B with him, and but it did present a problem for me. We started out hunting. Dad found a flower button almost immediately, and he started digging Civil War bullets up all over the place. And I proceeded to walk around for about 4 hours without a signal on this DMC-1. Now, the DMC-1 is a great machine, but it didn't really have the depth to get through that thick grass and the soil to find mini balls and that sort of thing. I was starting to get kind of dejected near the end of the day because I hadn't found anything, when all of a sudden I got a really strong signal. And I dug down about a foot deep and I saw a piece of iron in the bottom of the hole. Well, I didn't know what it was. I dug it out, and my first thought was it was part of a tractor tire or something like that. So I threw it in my pouch and continued to hunt. And I finally caught up with Dad, and he said, "Yeah, got a pouch full of bullets. Did you find anything?" And I said, "Oh, just this piece of iron." And I pulled it out and I showed it to him. And he said, "Well, you found your first piece of a cannonball." And little did I know, I had dug up my very first piece of a cannonball from the American Civil War. And all of a sudden, all those visions of mini balls that I was hoping for that day just flew out the window, and immediately cannonballs flew in. And that was all I could think about, was cannonballs. But this is a really neat piece of shell fragment. This is from a Borman shell, and this had a Borman time fuse in it that screwed into these threads here that you can see. And it had numbers on it where you could set how many seconds the cannonball would fly through the air before it exploded. And they could turn this screw or turn this fuse in there and punch a hole in the right spot to determine how long it would take for that cannonball to explode. So this is a rather diminutive relic. It's just a hunk of iron. But this is what started my passion for Civil War relic hunting. All of the visions of what had happened on that battlefield, pieces of shrapnel flying through the air. It really set my imagination to running wild, and it set a fire in me to want to go out and find more Civil War relics. And that day wound up, Dad handed me a bunch of Civil War bullets, and I went home with my first Civil War relics and my first taste of how amazing it was to be the first person to touch a piece of American history in 150 years. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that look at my very first Civil War relic. It's one of my favorite relics of all time. I really enjoyed sharing it with you guys. If you enjoyed today's video, please share, like, subscribe, and I'll see you tomorrow.